Hello, hello. Hi, everyone. It is Sunday, and I am online, and have the time to answer questions. So I thought I'd come online and see how everyone's doing. Hey Yassine, hey Julia, hey Jasim. How's it going, everyone? So, one question someone asked me before had to do with Islamic finance. What is Islamic finance, and what's the point of it, and is it actually different? Hey Munjur, hey Tuni, hey Tower Hope, hey Black Sam, hey Yassine, hey CLB. Someone asked me about Islamic finance. Islamic finance is something interesting. It's different from typical conventional Western finance, but is it different in a good way? Prophet Muhammad said that riba usually is forbidden, and he even forbade taking a lesser amount of dates and trading it for a larger amount of dates of lesser quality. So according to Islamic finance, if you're following it, you can't go to a jewelry store and trade a lesser quality of gold for a bigger quality of lower quality gold. So 10 grams of 24 karat, you can't go to the jewelry store and trade that for 5 grams of 20 karat gold. It's considered trouble. It's considered riba. So interesting thing is, in Islamic finance, because of Islamic finance, Muslims are forbidden from dealing with interest. Interest is considered one of the forms of riba, usually. Now, riba probably had a good reason for being forbidden in the past. Probably had to do with the fact that people were using it to, almost enslave people, and it's still used in many ways, in a bad way. When you look at, there's a movie called, I believe it's called Mother India, where it shows this poor Indian family that the father was this illiterate man, and he signed this contract for this large amount of money, and what happened is he didn't even know what he was signing, and there was a huge interest portion, and then he could never pay it back, right? So they're stuck in poverty forever and ever. Now, because of this, usually actually kind of destroy their life, right? They weren't able to pay off the loans. The wife ends up having to sleep with this man, and it becomes like this big nightmare for them. They can never pay it off. They don't even understand what they signed, and so usually is definitely bad. Marhaban from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, Sharoon. Welcome to the live broadcast. So going on about the usury or the riba, there's definitely some reasons why usury is bad, or let's say excessive interest. The problem is when you throw out the baby with the bathwater and you make even a minor form of interest to be forbidden. So when you look at a bank mortgage, especially let's say in Canada or the West, we're talking about a situation where the bank mortgage is 2%, 2.5% interest, and on the other side you can rent. So when I was first renting, when I first got married, I was paying $1,250 in rent, okay? And then let's say 10 years later, it went up to $1,750, and for $1,750 I couldn't even find a place that was good enough for us. So it was quite quite an increase, and it keeps increasing, right? It keeps increasing, the rent keeps increasing. Whereas let's say I was able to buy a house. I wasn't able to because it was haram, it was forbidden, but let's say I was able to buy a house. The house price would have been 500,000 to buy, let's say. It would have gone up to 700, 800,000, but at the same time, not only that, the value would have, usually the value goes up of houses, but not only that, the second thing that happens is the mortgage goes down, because what happens is the mortgage actually from year to year is actually dropping, right? And because of that, you're in an opposite situation where instead of actually paying more and more for rent, you're actually paying less and less, right? So it's like, you know, it's kind of crazy, right? Like, so just to show you guys what I'm talking about, this is amortization schedule for a bank mortgage, right? And you can see that in the beginning, like for a $500,000 home, the interest payment is $1187. So now it's already less than my rent, right? We're starting off less, and then look, the second year, look at it, third year, fourth year, and it keeps dropping, right? It keeps dropping. Like we're talking about, like, you know what I mean? Like the interest portion, which you can say is equivalent to rent. Now, of course, it's not just interest, but it's interest plus, you know, property tax plus what else? There's interest, property tax. There's, like, you know, wear and tear on the house and stuff like that you have to deal with. But your overall your value of your property is going up. It typically goes up, and you're better off and better off, right? So it doesn't make sense to rent if you can afford to buy, unless you think that you want to leave the country, you want to travel, you know, you have some other reason why you don't want to buy. But if you're just doing it for Islamic reasons, you're actually, you know, messing yourself up, right? So it's just like, it's a terrible idea. It's basically, you know, not good to involve yourself to avoid buying a house, because on the other hand, you're avoiding buying a house and you're renting from someone else who has a mortgage. So what's the point of that? Like, what's the point of avoiding the mortgage, and when, you know, it's just dumb. It's just like you're avoiding the mortgage, but you're helping someone else with the mortgage. But apparently that's halal, right? So it's quite silly, actually. So that's basically all about Islamic finance. There is some other, you know, you could say there's some benefits to Islamic finance. Islamic finance is basically like, you know, if you think of like what you call angel investing, or, you know, basically when you invest in a company and somebody will become a partner in the company, they will give you, let's say, $50,000, and in return they'll take 10% of your profit. This type of investment is completely halal in Islam, and it's profit sharing, and it's also risk sharing. The problem with the Islamic houses and stuff that they have nowadays, Islamic mortgages, is what they do is they take this model of, like, you know, like risk sharing, but in the contract they put all the risk on the buyer, and yet the benefit comes to the seller. And I actually have a post I wrote about this as a Muslim, and I had my friends telling me, oh no, you shouldn't write this, you shouldn't be criticizing these guys. And what I did is I actually did some analysis on how it works, what it costs. I did all of this as a Muslim, right? And I even calculated the numbers, and I actually calculated what the interest was, and I found out that it was pretty crazy that it ends up being, I believe, yeah, 7.5% interest. So the Islamic mortgage, which put all the risk on the buyer, right, is 7.5. It comes out to 7.5 interest, which is quite insane, right? And this is just for a random property. This is one of the companies in the Toronto area that does this. So I just picked a company and I tried to follow up and try to find out how this worked. And this is done through Ansar Housing, which is basically ISNA, Islamic Society of North America. They have a banking section, you can say. So this is how it works, and it's crazy. It's how expensive it is and how unfair it is. But this is considered halal, whereas going to the bank and, you know, paying them, you know, less than rent is considered haram. So that's kind of Pale Moon, there's no Islamic rate of interest, because the way it works is you actually are agreeing to become a partial owner of the house, and then what happens is you basically pay off, like, let's say the house was 500K again, you basically pay 300, the bank will give you 200, so the bank owns, you know, 40% of the house. Then what happens is, as you buy shares, you basically pay off the other portion, but until then you pay them rent. So the rent is equivalent to the interest. So what I did is I reverse calculated it. And that's basically what I found out, is it was extremely expensive, and the bank rates are like 2-3%, right? So it's brutally expensive. Okay, so I'm just gonna go, I think I'm done with the topic of Islamic finance, unless there's any more questions on that. I'm gonna look at the comments and see what people are saying. Why did I leave Islam? So I found some stuff in the Quran that didn't make sense. It didn't reflect reality, and it started off with holes in the Quran, like, what about this, what about that, this doesn't make sense, that doesn't make sense. All of the things which I thought were amazing, it turns out they were actually problems. That was one thing. The second thing that happened was, after that whole thing happened, I realized there's no good reason to believe in Islam. Like, what reason should I believe in Islam? Because, like, what's the reason to believe in the first place? Like, why should I believe in the Quran? And I couldn't find a good reason, because every reason I looked at was weak. Whether it was the linguistics, or whether it was the scientific miracles, or like what was it, the Prophet's life? So I didn't really get to the point of finding a good reason to believe in Islam. So I left Islam. Would I ever consider doing interview episodes with other ex-Muslims on their life stories? Hey, Razi. Yes, of course. I did one with, we had that talk with Introverted Smiles. I had that talk with those other guys, Stop Spamming, and the other guy from Rob from the Gin and Tonic Show and Speaker's Corner. And, what else? I also had Vidu Wids on here. So, yeah, definitely. I love having conversations with other people rather than just talking about myself. And Alexis is asking, what was the appeal of Muhammad when you were Muslim? So for me, it was because I had a past life as an Ismaili, and so I already knew about revelation and prophets and Islam, and I knew a lot of stuff about Islam, but I didn't know the proper Islamic, like, at least I didn't know the Sunni way. So when I read the Quran, and then it kind of appealed to me, so I didn't look into it too critically, I just accepted it. And I'm like, okay, cool, this is God's book and I need to follow this. So that's what happened to me. That was my appeal. So I explained why I don't believe in Islam anymore. You can look at my blog, abdullahsamir.com, for more details. Side question, would you mind beard free? Yeah, I don't know, I got used to the beard now, so I'll trim it from time to time, but yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen. Ultra Silver, about the lighting, yes, you're right, I apologize, the lighting is not the best right now. I'll have to work on that. And greetings from Boston, Massachusetts. J-Lock, hi, how's it going? When am I going to change my name? Never. Okay. And Razi is talking about his favorite story was Muhammad's Jewish neighbor who used to throw dirt on him every day, and then one day she became sick and Muhammad went to see her. Well, that story apparently is not true. It doesn't show up anywhere in the story of the Jewish lady who threw dirt on the Prophet, right? And how he went to throw garbage on the Prophet, right? And how she went to check on him, right? Apparently the story is not a true story, and it's actually commonly related, this story, but it's not found in the seerah, right? It's not found there, right? I have not found a basis for a specific incident. So it's just a popular story, not an authentic narration about the. It's a popular story. A lot of Muslims will mention about Prophet went to check on this lady that was throwing garbage on him every day, but there is an authentic story about someone that did throw garbage on him, and basically while he was praying at the mosque, it wasn't really nice. These guys came and threw like goat intestines on him, and his little daughter came and cleaned it up, and right after he was done, he raised his hands up and he said, "Oh Allah, destroy this person, destroy this person, destroy," and he mentioned all of their names, and all of those people were killed as well in the later battle, I believe the Battle of Badr. So yeah, in that case they actually all got killed. So yeah, that's an authentic story. So okay. Allah say it's 5%. Greetings from Syria. Thank you. Nice to have followers from all over the world. Okay. So what's your opinion on Eastern/Indian religions? Do I think Abrahamic religions are better than Eastern religions? As an atheist, I believe all religions have good and bad, and I believe that Eastern religions, they have some philosophy and stuff we can learn from. Western, let's say Abrahamic religions have some stuff we can learn from as well. We have to take the good and leave the bad. I haven't studied Eastern religions too much, but I do know Buddhism has this concept of mindfulness, which I've benefited a lot from. So that's one good thing about Eastern religions. Ultra Silver, I think Muhammad was mentally ill. He had hallucinations and people believed him. Yeah, that's quite possible that actually he did have, this type of issue of what do you call it? The brain thing, where he sees things. I forgot what it's called now. I have to look that up after. And yeah, so it's quite possible. Maybe he did have mental issues. Maybe he had a combination of mental issues and narcissistic personality. There's many different possibilities. Shah Nawaz, why do Muslims keep beards? Because Prophet Muhammad said in one of the hadith that to Muslim men to grow your beard. So according to what I was taught as a Muslim, the Prophet said grow your beard. So whenever the Prophet says anything, it's a commandment. You have to do it. So have to grow your beards, guys. No shaving, but you're allowed to trim it apparently. There's different opinion about what the minimum is. Omar said it has to be as long as your, I don't know, he had some way of knowing. And Muslims will spend their lives arguing about things like that and analyzing this and that, but I mean at the end of the day it's just facial hair, right? How old am I? I'm 34. I grow a beard because I want to grow a beard. Come on guys, like let's move past the facial hair, please. Did Muhammad exist? I believe so. I think he probably did exist, and I think there's quite a lot of evidence for that. So, but I do believe that a lot of the story of Muhammad is not true, and I'm gonna give some references to that as well from my blog. So if you go to my blog and we look at history, there's some interesting things you can look at. There's two. One of them is this. And one of them is, well, one's the Alliance of Hadith. Actually, three interesting things. So let's look at all of them. This is the first one, the Alliance of Hadith. It talks about how there's such a big gap between the time where Prophet Muhammad actually died and when the actual Hadith came about. We're talking about 200 years, right? There's 200 years of gap, and not only that, you have to look at the amount of Hadith that was whittled down. Bukhari's collection was 600,000 Hadith. From 600,000, he only narrated 2,000. So just imagine, what's the error rate on that? He threw out 98%, right? Sorry, more than 98%, because it was 600,000. If it was 100,000, it would be 98%. So it's 99% he threw out. And the only way to know was he prayed istikhara, which is a prayer of guidance, before he wrote down each hadith. And this is a story. I mean, who knows if it's true, right? So not only that, there's some crazy stuff in the hadith, right? Things that don't even make sense, right? For example, monkeys stoning each other, which people have actually criticized, even though it's inside the Bukhari. There's some crazy long hadith. Look at this one. I try to zoom in, make it bigger. The wife of the Prophet, whenever Allah's Messenger intended to go on a journey, he used to draw lots amongst his wives, and he would take the one with him whom the lot had fallen. Once he had drawn lots, and when he wanted to carry out a ghazwa, which is a battle, and the lot came upon me. So I proceeded with Allah's apostle after Allah's order of veiling the women had been revealed, and thus I was carried in my hawda, which is the thing that goes on top of a camel, and dismounted while still in it. We carried on a journey, and when Allah's apostle had finished his ghazwa and returned, we appreciated. Okay, I'm not even 10% done reading this. And this was supposedly memorized and narrated verbatim, word for word, right? It's just crazy, you know what I mean? How is this how can you believe this was actually coming from? Okay, so the story continues and 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 keeps going, right? Boom. This is the initial Arabic, right? The Arabic of this hadith. Okay, look how long it is. And this was supposedly memorized and passed on from person to person to person to person to person to person. Look how long it is. Do you believe there's no mistakes in that? That's just one example. And there's Bukhari memorized 600,000 hadith. From 600,000 hadith, we're down to 2,000. Dang. Okay, so that's troubling, right? So you know what I'm saying? And people have studied this topic, and he talked about how people think that oral traditions are so accurate, but they're not accurate, right? So there's two possibilities. One is that Prophet Muhammad actually said the things he said. The second thing is he basically didn't say it, and it was just narrated and attributed to him. And the third possibility is a mix. He said some things, he didn't say some things, but a lot of these things were just made up, right? We know that for sure. So that's one thing to look at. The second thing to look at is academic criticisms of Islamic history. there's this beautiful post written here. It's a long post, but it's an academic one that goes through all of the Orientalist criticisms of Islam. So I enjoyed reading that, and you can actually read some of the issues with the official story. And the third thing I wanted to mention, okay, and I'll just give one small point about this, right? For example, Patricia Crone talked about how Makkah doesn't exist on any trade routes. So that's one thing which is kind of strange, because if Makkah was such an important place, how come there's no spice routes going there? It's really there's a video as well on this page. So I have a video, and I have a video there if you don't want to read that long thing, and it kind of summarizes some of that stuff. The third issue with the official Islamic history is, there's an interesting argument by this fellow Dan Gibson, who wrote this book, The Nabateans, and who's written this thing about Quranic geography. It's a $15 book, and also there's a documentary called The Sacred City, which you can watch, which actually goes into details on why there's some problems with the official story that Muhammad was from Makkah. And I don't want to go into it here. I'm not sure if I believe this is true or not, but it's worth reading into. And when you read this, you'll feel like, wow, history is so difficult to unravel. Like, what is the true story? I don't even know, right? So I'll post all those links, and these are all like worth reading, I think, just to get an idea of the official story. And yeah, okay, so going back to the questions, so that was whether Muhammad exists. I believe he did exist, but the story about him was not the best, not the most accurate. How old is my oldest? He's now going to be 13. Okay? Watch Hamad Abdul Samad's series Box of Islam. Okay, that's a good recommendation. And I'm going to put it up there on the screen. And let's just take a look at that. Box of Islam. Yeah, I've heard this guy's really good. So check out his channel. I think he has some English videos as well. So yeah, check out this guy, Box of Islam. He's a cool guy. Okay. And thanks for your Saroj Kumar. Happy to see my videos. Thank you very much. Do you think the way Muslims treat Muhammad would be considered shirk? That's an interesting question. I think that's a really interesting question. And the answer is yes, I do believe that, because like some of the things they did was like insane. They would take his water from his wudu and they would want to drink it, right? Like, it's like they would take the leftover water from after he would wash his face and hands and legs, and we're talking about like someone living in a desert. So I don't think that water was gonna be really clean, and they would actually drink it, right? So like, yeah, that's kind of like crazy. They also accepted everything he said as if God said it. So oh, by the way, I just remembered what I was talking about. So going to my page, it's called temporal lobe epilepsy. So it's right here on my page, and right on the topic of Prophet Muhammad. I think it's worth reading about, and I think it's kind of interesting. And this is a good video. You should watch this video if you haven't seen it. It's a guy that thought he was talking to God after he had this temporal lobe epilepsy. And I have a little quote from a Muslim sheikh here, a Muslim scientist, that talks about how people that have this medical condition, they think they're talking to God. And then there's also, yeah, I'm going to talk about this. Let's take a look. These are all the benefits that Prophet Muhammad got. It says that people respected him more than anyone else would respect even a king, right? And when he used to do wudu, the remaining water was taken, they would smear it all over the bodies, right? And there was this person would Prophet had spit out a bunch of water, and they were fighting for it, right? And basically he taught them to pretty much almost worship him, right? None of you will be true believers until I'm more beloved to him than yourself, right? And so, and the Quran says this too, right? So the Prophet basically told people that you must love me, right? And he told Omar, you gotta love me more than yourself, right? And this kind of funny story where Omar is like, I love you more than, the Prophet is asking him. Imagine like the personality of a person saying that, do you love me more than your kids? Yeah, I love you more than my kids. Do you love me more than your money? Yeah, I love you, Prophet, more than my money and my kids. Do you love me more than yourself? Omar is like, No. Papa's like, not until you love me more than your own self will you have complete faith. So, that's kind of interesting, eh? So, yeah, sorry, that was a little bit of a sidetrack. So, going back to the questions. Did someone from my Muslim community threaten me? No, nobody threatened me from my local community. I had a lot of threats online. People online threatened me, but no one from my community threatened me. So I got lots of online threats, but who knows if those are credible. Am I interested to become Christian? No, I'm not interested to become Christian. And my friend wrote a good post on this, which I'd like to share. It's called Reason on Faith. That's his blog. And I'm just going to share the post where he talks about, it's kind of a good post. I like it. I share it from time to time. Anyone asks me about Christianity, I feel like Christianity has a lot of the same issues as Islam. And this is a great post by my friend who is also an ex-Muslim. Okay. So I'm scrolling down for the next questions. What do you think of Mujud? What do you think of raising Muslim society in Western world and the influence to secular values in Western society? In other words, what do I think of Islamophobia? Islamophobia is a made-up word in order to prevent people from criticizing Islam, from criticizing the Prophet, from criticizing the Quran, from criticizing the religion. Do we have any such word for anything else, like Christianophobia, Christianityophobia, Hinduismophobia, evolutionophobia, like Darwinophobia? Like, do we have a word for loving something too much, like Islamophilia? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, you're an Islamophiliac, you're a lover of Islam because you're saying that. Like, no, it's just a made-up word, Islamophobia, in order to attack people that, to basically shut down criticism, legitimate criticism of Islam. So I actually hate that word. I do think there's such a thing as Muslim bigotry or anti-Muslim bigotry. So that's a better word if someone wants to say, oh, there's, it's anti-Muslim bigotry, which is basically people are being bigots. You can say that, but to say, like Islamophobia, no, I don't like that word. I think it's a terrible word. How did my parents and siblings react after I left Islam? And that's from Ultra Silver. My parents are pretty liberal. My dad was Ismaili, he died, and he was okay with me becoming Sunni Muslim, and he was okay with me being atheist. He didn't really mind. He said, whatever you're happy with. And so he was cool with it. My mom as well, she's pretty understanding, and she's like, I think you should believe in God, but the choice is yours, what you wanna believe in. My brother is a very religious Muslim, and he wasn't happy, and they think I'm going to hell. Him and his wife, they believe I'm going to hell, so they're not happy. But other than that, most of my family is okay. I think they're just sad for me. Okay. Scrolling down. We should require all students to play the game telephone. Yeah. What's my opinion on jinns and black magic? I really wish I had a way to show people that there's no such thing as jinns and black magic and evil eye. These are like ancient superstitions which, belong in the Dark Ages. There's no reason to believe in them. There's no reason to believe in any of that stuff. It's just so sad that people actually believe in superstitions like magic. Like if magic was real, first of all, why would God even allow such a thing? Like why would he allow people to do this weird paranormal stuff and make effects out of it, right? Like it's just so silly that anyone would actually think that this is real. But the thing is, it's hard to convince people. It's hard to convince people that magic is not real. It's hard to convince them that evil eye is not real. Even rational people that that believe in science and that believe in all of these things, it's just ridiculous. It's just like magic there's no such thing as magic. It's been like thousands of years now. We know there's no such thing as magic. There's no such thing as devils. What people used to believe was magic was like it's not reproducible in a regular way. There's no way to test it or to make it work in any way. It's just ridiculous, right? It's just to believe that. But you can't convince people because they think they've seen a ghost or something. And every culture has these kind of superstitions where people, they get scared of the dark or they see things and they're like, oh, there's some sort of jinns or something, right? And it's just like sorry, 1 second. So yeah, it's basically just a sad thing that I can't convince people. But yeah, I don't believe that there's any such thing as magic, any such thing as evil eye, any such thing as jinns. You know, it's just a silly thing to believe in this stuff. But again, you know, convincing people is very difficult. It's very difficult to convince people that there's no such thing as magic. So yeah, it is what it is. And I'm gonna look at the questions again. Oh yeah, there was a guy. His name was James Landy, and he had $1 million competition. Let me show you. So James Landy is a cool guy. He had this $1 million competition that anyone that could prove any sort of supernatural activity would win $1 million. And of course, nobody can prove it because it's not real. All you had to do was you had to come and just show him anything, like just like make him a deal. Say, listen, I talk to jinns. And you know what? I'm gonna prove it. I'm gonna get that $1 million. And James will be like, okay, write it out. Tell me what you're gonna do. And you're gonna like write something on a piece of paper, and I'm gonna write a number. I'm gonna put in an envelope, and the envelope sealed. No one can see it. Your jinn is gonna tell me what's inside this. Is it a 5? Is it a 2, or is it nothing? Right? There's nothing on my hand. Maybe I put a number there. Only the jinn knows, but you don't know. So you know you can test this, right? And of course, there were so many people that came, and not a single person could prove that either they talked to ghosts, talked to jinns, talked to devils, talked to the dead parents, you know, talked to God, whatever it is, right? Nobody won the $1 million. And this guy, he's a magician. He's a magician. He's like not a black magic magician. He's a optical illusionist, someone that does these tricks for a living. So he knows the tricks, right? He knows, he sees, he gets all this stuff, right? But it's like it's not true, right? In real life, there's no such thing as magic. It's just ridiculous, right? Okay, so I'm gonna continue reading. Somebody posted the phone number and said, WhatsApp me, any ex-Muslim. I don't recommend you do that, and I'm putting you in timeout on the chat. You don't post your you don't send your personal information to people. If somebody's saying send me your personal information, if you're an ex-Muslim in Pakistan, don't do it, okay? Like, seriously, that's a bad idea. Don't contact random people on YouTube that send you the number. And maybe it's an innocent person, it's a trustworthy person, but don't do it. Okay. Would I study in university, Oriental University? I don't see the point. Like, you know what I mean? I don't think I need to study anymore to understand the issues with Islam. So I already know the issues that are well enough, and I'd rather spend my time studying philosophy. I really want to learn philosophy and critical thinking. Excuse me, I don't want to do any more studies on Islam. I think I've had enough of that. Simon is saying, I'm an ex-Muslim for 8 years, never been happier. That's awesome. That's great, and I'm happy to see that. And okay, I'm just going through the questions. Okay. Hey Abdullah, hey End of the Line Joel, hey Mubin, and Waki Ali, please save yourselves. What are you talking about? Save ourselves from what? Oh, please look at his face all blank. Okay. How long is this stream scheduled for? Another 30 minutes? Yeah, I think we can go 30 minutes. It's been 30 minutes. I can do another 30 minutes. Hey, smiling isn't haram. Welcome back as well. My painting. Is that better? Okay. What do I think of ex-Muslims swinging very much against Islam in the first few months after leaving it, and they seem to swing back to a more balanced perspective? So that's actually a good question, and it's totally understandable that people kind of freak out when they leave Islam, because they feel very angry, they feel cheated, they feel like they spent their life on something that wasn't true, and you know, usually they're quite annoyed about it. So Yeah, they get quite upset, right? And that's understandable that people are upset about, being lied to or being cheated out of something that they thought was true. So yeah, they do tend to get kind of angry, kind of upset, and I understand that, and I think some people have a hard time coming out of this kind of anger phase. So, and people tend to kind of calm down. Not everybody, but after a while, I guess people, and it happens even when you convert to a religion. Like when I converted to Islam, I was very eager and very, very, excited and all that. But like eventually, after some time, I did kind of calm down a bit, and I got kind of, better, right? So, yeah, like I also kind of went over the top when I first joined to when I first became Muslim. Sorry, jinns exist, Salik. Hey, Salik, jinns exist. How would you prove jinns exist? Like, come on, like an evil eye. Like just let's just talk about evil eye. How weird it is. Evil eye says that because I'm jealous of you, God Almighty is gonna take that and is gonna cast it on someone else because I'm like jealous of that person. Like how weird is that? Like, does the world actually work that way? And I have a feeling if you did some actual testing to see whether this actually happened, we would find out that no, this doesn't happen. There's no such thing as evil eye. But you can't convince people that come from this background of believing in it. They just think that, yeah, evil eye is real. I can't tell anyone. Like, I was actually taught, at one point, don't post pictures of your kids online because of evil eye. I even heard from one sheikh that his mom, this guy's in Canada, is a sheikh in Canada, his mom used to dress him up as a girl because he was a boy and people would get jealous. So she used to put like earrings and she used to dress him up like a girl because she didn't want people to be jealous and have envy and hasad and evil eye. So somehow this evil eye thing is like some supernatural force that God allows to happen to hurt people. It just doesn't make any sense. Like there's no such thing. And the hadith is like laughable. The hadith says that like, some guy was so beautiful and they were looking at him and he like fainted and they went to the Prophet. It's like, how could you guys do that to this poor man? You should have said mashallah, not like looking at this beautiful man. And I don't know, it's almost like a homoerotic thing that was going on over there, like talking about this beautiful man. Besmit, I'm pretty jealous of your impeccable internet connection. Oh god. Okay, so yeah, back to the topic. Evil eye, jinns, black magic. There's no such thing as black magic. Please, please. There's no such thing as black magic. Try it. Cast a spell on me. I will be the guinea pig. Do your best. Do your worst. There's no black magic. Nothing. No such thing. Please be rational people. Be logical people. There's no such thing as black magic. Guys, come on. Okay. Right, so about people that swing from one end of extremely hating Islam to the other, yeah, just give them time and hopefully they'll calm down. I never went through that extreme ex-Muslim phase. Simon says, my family and parents are hardcore Muslims. How do I come out as an atheist without losing my family? I live in California. I feel like a prisoner in my own life. Please help, I still love them. I recommend people to just take it step by step. Don't jump the gun. Don't rush to tell people that you're ex-Muslim, that you're an atheist or you're a deist or whatever you are, even if you became Christian or whatever. Don't jump the gun and just rush to tell people. Just be patient. If you're married, make it like a 5-year plan. 5 years, okay? So say 5 years to kind of talk to your wife or talk to your husband, slowly get them to understand, where you're coming from, and just take it step by step, slowly but surely. I don't think you can rush this. Try to give them things to think about without exposing yourself. And unfortunately, sometimes it just becomes a question of losing your family. Being yourself. If you want to be open and be yourself, you have to lose yourself. You have to lose yourself. So if you want to lose yourself and keep your family, that's fine. But if you really want to be yourself, sometimes you lose your family for that. So it's a very difficult choice, right? A very difficult choice. And I don't wish it on anyone. Like, my family was very liberal. I didn't have that problem. So I feel bad for people that have to go through this. I honestly feel truly bad. What's a Muslim's opinion on Latter-day Saints, aka Mormons? Yeah, they're like misguided religion, just like any other religion. That's what they would say. Yasa is saying, to believe in black magic and evil eye, you have to believe in God first. Well, not necessarily. A lot of people are superstitious. Even atheists are superstitious. Some atheists believe in aliens. Some atheists believe in whatever, like jinns, ghosts, whatever. You don't have to believe in God to believe in ghosts, to believe in jinns. Not necessarily. You can, but you don't have to. Okay? What's my opinion on Linda Sarsour and Reza Aslan? I think I'll just skip that question. Saudi Arabia believes that Muhammad's body is still preserved and has fresh flesh until now because his body can never be decomposed. Yes, that's what the Hadith says. The Hadith says the Prophet's bodies never decay. So not just Saudi Arabia, but like, I guess all Sunni Muslims believe that, right? Excuse me. Did you ever have any discussions about your online work with people at your day job? One of my coworkers actually, turns out, we went for lunch, and it turns out he actually knows my website, lightuponlight.com, and he became religious because of my website, like 10 years ago or something. And I'm like, wow, like, I actually left Islam now. And he's like, it's funny how we switch positions. So yeah, some people know, and many of my friends know, but I don't typically tell people I work with. This is my personal life, and that's my work life, and I keep them separated. I do discuss religion sometimes with coworkers, though. Okay? And jinns are like leprechauns, fictional. Exactly. Okay. And someone's asking, how did he gain military? How did the Prophet become militarily successful and famous? And the answer to that is he became famous and successful because he was hey Hassan, he became successful because, I mean, he did a good job in convincing everyone that he was a messenger of God and God was speaking to him, and people flocked behind him for benefits, whether it was material benefits or whether it was spiritual benefits, virgins, and like going to paradise and having God being pleased with you and all that stuff. And people were convinced. It was a superstitious time where you could actually say there's a mountain over there, and there's Gog and Magog behind the mountain, and they're gonna come, they're gonna go all over the earth, they're gonna kill all of us, and you have to be on my side, on God's side, and every Friday you guys have to recite Surah Kahf. You have to recite Surah Kahf, because that will protect you from the Dajjal. When the Dajjal comes, he will come and he will fight you guys. And if you read Surah Kahf every Friday, it'll protect you. If you read Surah Baqarah every week, it'll be like a cloud for you, and it'll be protection and this and that. So people were quite convinced by him, right? And maybe he was charismatic, and maybe he was a good liar. So I do believe that he was able to convince people. He was able to get people on his side. And so he was successful, and a lot of people converted because they saw the tides turning. 3 of the most famous converts, Khalid bin Walid, Amr bin al-As, and I forgot the last one. These guys converted right before Fathul Makkah, before the capture of Makkah. And these guys were, they saw the tides were turning. They saw when the Muslims came and they were praying, Umrah, and they're like, wow, this is cool. These guys are winning now. So basically, we gotta go and we gotta join these guys now, right? So that's what they did, right? They decided to join them, right? So that's what happened. And so a lot of the things in Islam are because of a lot of the issues. A lot of things in Islam are because of the Islamic laws. For example, apostasy law. For example, because of outgoing jihad, violent jihad against the enemies of Allah. Things like this are what causes the religion to grow, right? So, you know what I'm saying? So that's the thing, right? Like, if you have laws like this in a religion that you can't question, you can't, do any of that stuff, you can't even, and then, people are attacking the religion. Sorry, people are going and attacking others to grow the religion. Of course the religion is going to grow. I mean, that's what it is, right? And if the guy is a good liar and he was able to convince people, then yeah, of course. Okay. Oh, Al-Razi made a good point. In ancient times, especially among polytheists, if you lost a war, it was believed your opponent's god was stronger, and many tribes left the previous god to join another god. That's a very good point. In Karen Armstrong, in her book, The History of God, she talks about how Jehovah was the god, like a god of war, and Jehovah promised that if you worship me alone, I will, make you guys victorious against your enemies, right? So yeah, it was definitely like my god, your god type of thing, right? If Islam was the truth, then all of the Islamic countries would unite as one country and would be the most peaceful on earth. People would try to immigrate there. Many immigrate out. A lot of people are immigrating to ISIS now because they think that ISIS is the glorious Islamic state that's going to come and is going to, take care of everybody, and, they actually believe that. So, yeah, and what do we see instead is we see a big mess, right? We see a big mess in most Muslim countries in the world today. We see a lot of trouble. We see a lot of difficulties. We see people want to come to the West. And what is it about the West? Can we blame the West for bombing the Muslim countries and say that's why all the Muslim countries suck? Excuse me, no, I don't think so, because there's many things that are connected to Islam which cause those countries to do badly. Putting women behind and not letting women work and study and learn and be equal partners in society, having them domesticated, and especially when you have some women who are really intelligent and smart and they actually do better than men, not allowing them and not encouraging them to be equal partners in society. The whole thing about secular democracy is good for technology and innovation and for people to thrive, right? So this is actually why I think the West is actually doing really well. The French Enlightenment thinkers, they came up with values, good values for humanity, and secularism is one of the best values that they come up with, which is that you separate the church and state, and you don't allow the church to meddle with the government, right? So the government has to stay, independent from the church. It's a fantastic idea, when it's actually implemented. So I actually think that's a great thing that's how it is, secularism, and I think that's why, it actually does really well. Non-Muslim countries, basically Western countries, not all of them, right? And obviously, I think communism is terrible, so I don't think communism is a good idea. But yeah, but capitalism seems to work well. Al-Razi made another great point. Muhammad gained his wealth after his wife died from raiding Meccan caravans and trading gold and wealth. That's true, right? Like after they left Mecca and they were kicked out and they founded Medina, they started, raiding caravans and stopping them, and the justification was, you guys kicked us out, so now we're going to raid you guys and we're going to kill you and we're going to take your money, and that's basically what they did, right? I recommend people go watch James Landy's TED Talk. Yeah, I think that's a fantastic idea. Okay, Letty, I am just catching up the comments. Okay, guys. Hey Abdullah, it's paradoxical that most Western converts to Islam are women. Do I have any explanation for this? I think Islam, there's a really good post my friend made, and I'll have to find it. It's all about why people convert, and he talked about different reasons why. Let me see if I can find it, and I would be happy to post it. And you should read that. And he goes through an analysis of basically why people convert to Islam, and there's an identity thing. There's all sorts of, oh, I found it. Yes, I'm so happy. Perfect. I am so happy I found it. And I'm going to post the link right here. Okay, guys, you're in good news. You're going to get, here you go. Please read that analysis. It's a fantastic analysis of why people convert to Islam. He talks about women as well. Women from troubled backgrounds and men from troubled backgrounds. Yes, gives you gives you a sense of order and structure. Al-Razi, you need to be doing this like live with me. Like, you're so good. Like, you keep adding like solid points. I love that. And I think, yeah, Islam does give women, you know, a sense of dignity in terms of covering, I guess. Especially if they've been through some, you know, rough times. Maybe they feel like, you know, and I think if someone like a female convert would be able to better answer that question than I would. So I'm not sure what to say, but do read that post I linked. And okay, so next question. Okay, next question. Ilkan Armstrong's really pro-Muhammad. Yeah, she's really pro-Islam, but I do like her book, History of God. I think it was an interesting history. Okay, please keep this video on your channel. Okay, I will do that. How do you tell Muslims what if you're wrong? So I have a video called What If You're Wrong. You know, like, so I do actually have an answer to that, and I do recommend that just check my video, What If You're Wrong. Basically, the idea is Pascal's wager. What if you're wrong? What if there's a God, right? This is what Pascal came up with, and the answer is quite simple. Like, find out now, do your research now, find out. You don't need to wait until you die. You don't need to, you know, you don't need to get to that point. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like we can find out much before that. And how do we find out? We spend the time to look into it and to do the research and to see what's the evidence for the position of Islam or the position of any other religion, right? And so we don't have to live a life thinking what if, but we can actually find out right now by doing our own research. Like, and that's what my video was on about. Rob said, I really think that sharing deconversion stories is very powerful. What do you think of this idea? Would you consider reading out anonymous Muslim deconversion stories on your channel? Yeah, sure. If you have some interesting story for me, I asked my friend, I'll just share some details about my friend's story. I have a friend who was so excited to go for Hajj. And when he went for Hajj, it actually changed his life, and he started having doubts, believe it or not, at Hajj. And he's actually now an ex-Muslim in the closet. And I'm waiting for him to send me his story. I can't wait. I'm just so excited. And I have a few other people that I'm going to talk to on the channel. I'm just hoping to, I just haven't been able to organize it. Does Sahih Bukhari come right after the Quran? This is the Salafi way. They say that Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim are the two most authentic books after the Quran. So yes, I guess that's what they believe. And I think I talked about why that's such a terrible thing to believe. What do I think could be done to make Saudi open for all non-Muslims and ban polygamy? I don't know. Why are we so concerned about Saudi being open to non-Muslims? And Saudi is open to non-Muslims. It's Mecca and maybe Medina that are not open to non-Muslims. And banning polygamy, I don't know, why would you want to ban polygamy? That issue will go away on its own if the culture changes. I know it's part of the culture, I guess. I don't actually have a problem with polygamy. I don't have a problem with polyandry. I don't have a problem with open relationships. What I believe is there needs to be honesty and trust and communication and consent. So if you're in a relationship with someone and the understanding is this is a closed relationship and you are going to be loyal to them, you need to be loyal to them. That's what I believe. And why do I believe that? Because I believe that we should treat people with respect, honesty. If we want to live in a world that we would want to live in, we should expect, you know, to treat others the way that we would be treated, that we want to be treated. So at the same time, if a couple is open to it, then whatever, they can have open relationship or polyandry or polygamy. I don't have a problem with that. Why would you want to ban polygamy? I mean, polygamy specifically is unfair to women, I think, but like in general, I don't have a problem with it. It's just like, you know, obviously there should be consent and they should understand what they're getting into there. Looks like someone got blocked from the YouTube live discussion. That's good. Thank you, moderators, for dealing with that issue, because it's difficult to talk about stuff and continue. What's my views on Jordan Peterson? Waleed. Hey, Waleed. How's it going? Man, I need to get you on here again. That was a great discussion. Jordan Peterson is a really interesting fellow. I think he has some really great, deep points about stuff, and I'm still trying to like. I have a difficulty kind of understanding him sometimes, and I'm still trying to learn what his position is and what is he saying, and what's. Excuse me. What do people? Why do people like him so much? Right? Like, I think he has some really good points actually, and so I'm still listening. I'm still trying to learn. Still trying to get like what's the point there. And someone is saying Muhammad's doctor's name is Harith ibn Kalada. He studied science in Juriscopunda, and maybe that's how the Greek science came into the Quran. Yeah, there's a great blog article which is it's called Islam Quran Spotlight. I'm gonna share this because I just absolutely love this website. This guy really helped me in leaving Islam, and I've contacted him. And I told him thank you, and I even sent him a gift card, Amazon gift card. And so this guy has some fantastic articles. I absolutely love this article. It's like, it blew me away when I read it. Boom, I just shared it. Okay. Pale Moon, do I receive a lot of emails from closeted ex-Muslims? Oh yes, I get quite a few messages every day from people saying thank you for helping me. Thank you for speaking out, because I can't speak out. I can't do what you're doing because of my family situation, because of this and that. So yeah, I do get, most of the people I know are in the closet, unfortunately, right? And I hope more people can come out publicly. I really hope that, because if we want to change the world, we need more people to come out openly as atheists, right? We need that. We need to normalize dissent. We need to normalize leaving Islam. And so I'm asking everyone that, make it a plan. Maybe it's going to be 10 years, 20 years. It doesn't have to be this year. It doesn't have to be now. Make a plan, to eventually come out and share with the world that you are, whether you're, if you're not a Muslim, and why. So that's my recommendation. Sorry, just shutting the window. Got the AC on. Okay. Right. Okay, so sorry, back to questions. Okay. Does the Quran talk about dinosaurs? The Quran doesn't talk about dinosaurs. The Quran talks about the heavens and earth being joined. Heavens and earth were never joined. Quran talks about the male fluid, which everyone knows about male fluid, but it doesn't talk about sperm. No one knew about sperm back then. Those little tiny things that are inside the seminal fluid. It doesn't talk about the female egg. Okay, that's a big one. The Quran never mentions the female egg even once. But it does mention all sorts of superstitious stories about Jesus, about Gog and Magog, about Alexander Dhul Qarnayn, and Musa, and Pharaoh, and Ad, and Thamud, and these guys, and that guy. Like, that's what the Quran is. It's an ancient bunch of fables, right? Cobbled together. Okay. The Quran is not so accurate on embryonic stages. That is also correct. It is not. It seems like it's mistaken. Oh, another great point. SOTMM says, read what Aristotle, Socrates, and Hippocrates knew hundreds of years before Islam. And this is actually another great point about embryology. Many times we think the Quran is so amazing, but we don't realize that, like, other people actually had, better understandings even before Muhammad. And none of them claimed to speak to God. So in our ignorance, we just think that everybody was backwards, and completely ignorant people, but it's not true. Like, there were glimpses of light back then, right? There was civilizations were growing, humanity was proceeding, right? I don't believe that Prophet Muhammad knew that the earth was not flat. I think he thought the earth was flat. And I don't believe that he knew about the fact that the sun is the center of the universe, the center of the galaxy. Sorry, center of a solar system. He thought the sun and moon are going around the earth. So anyways, that's basically the problem with the Quran, is it just repeats a bunch of stuff that he would have known, and it doesn't go into like what he wouldn't have known, right? Quran taught me the earth is flat. Do I know Mufassal Islam from UK? Yes, I had a live stream with him once. You can check that out if you look up Mufassal Islam and Abdullah Samir. Okay. What's my opinion on circumcision? I think it's unnecessary. I think it's an unnecessary operation. Most pediatricians don't recommend it anymore as a routine thing. They say like just don't do it. There's no need for it anymore. So yeah, that's basically yeah. I think it's not necessary or recommended. Okay. I've heard numerous testimonies from ex-Muslims, American ex-Muslims, that found out the siblings secretly had doubts about Islam too, but never discussed this before coming out. Your thoughts? Yeah, a lot of people do have doubts, right? But that doesn't mean they don't believe in Islam, right? Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But I know two brothers. One of them is an ex-Muslim and the other one isn't, and they don't. The one that's an ex-Muslim never told his brother or his parents. So yeah, there's many people. Their siblings are not Muslim and they don't even know. Give me 1 second. I'm just gonna grab some water. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Grabbing some water. Okay. Al-Razi, I gotta get you. I know you're in the closet. I gotta get you on here. You're so good. It's funny, evil eye and black magic and jinn possessions only happen in communities that believe in it. Yes, exactly. Exactly. It's kind of funny, eh? Like, you find all these videos of like superstition of jinn like exorcism. There's always like Muslims, right? It's always like Muslims like talking in different languages, and the Quran, you read the Quran and them, they're like, oh, right? And it's like you read the Quran to like a non-Muslim, they're like, what's going on here? Like, what is this, right? But like apparently when you read it to a Muslim that's like possessed, they're like, oh, like, oh my God, I'm burning, my jinn is burning, my jinn is burning. I'm an atheist, right? So apparently I must have a lot of jinns. So we should do a test. We should recite some Quran, right? And see if anything happens. If I get exercised, right? Let's see. Let's try it. Hey, it works. It's pretty beautiful though. It sounds nice. Especially when you're listening to verses talking about like, you know, burning people in hell. But this one's quite beautiful. My jinn likes this one. My atheist jinn likes this one. He's happy with this verse. Okay. So that was a failed experiment. My jinn actually liked the Quran, so it must be a Muslim jinn. Maybe he'll convert me back to Islam one day because he likes the Quran. It's too bad. I was hoping to burn him, but unfortunately it didn't work, right? That was a jinn that moved the painting, Kilobyte 21. What are your thoughts on Sufis and mystics? Yeah, it's like a different way of looking at it, and, you know, like mysticism, and I don't know too much about it. Like, it's, you know, it's a way of trying to experience something, right? And I think mindfulness can give you that. You don't really need, like, Sufism and religion for that. What do I do for a living? Bill, I'm a software developer. Okay. Please do a reaction to Dawa Man. Okay, I don't know about that. We'll see. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna like fast forward to the last comment because I haven't been able to keep up with all the comments. How do I explain jinns, where they come from? There's no such thing as jinns. How do you explain tooth fairies, where they come from? How do you explain like pixies and like goblins? Where do goblins come from? That's what I wanted to know. Somebody explain to me, if Islam is not true, where do goblins come from? Like, that's what I always wanted to know. Like, do you know the goblin, the one that lives under the, or is that a troll? The one that lives under the bridge. That's a troll, right? Now, if Islam is not true, then explain to me, where do those goblins and trolls come from? Like, that's what I want to know. Checkmate atheists. You can't explain where jinns came from. Okay, there's no such thing as jinns. Okay. The crooked painting is bothering me. Stupid jinns changing my paintings and stuff. Come on, like, what the heck? What the heck, jinns? Come on. There. Happy Mubin? It's good? It's good? Is it off? It's still good? Okay. Alright, okay. Painting fix. Problem solved. I'm scared of hell. This is a very understandable reaction. Because Islam, Christianity, they try to use your fear of hell, basically your survival mechanism against you, to make you scared of being hurt, right? But like, if God is truly perfect and merciful and forgiving and loving, and He's perfect, then why would He do this? Why would He make a bunch of people just to burn them in hell? It's almost like you love your kids, and God is way better than we are, yet you put your kids in a burning house, or you just let them walk into a house that's burning. It's like they just go right into the house. You're like, no, not saying anything. The kids, not kids, the adults now, they know what they're doing. They're going to a burning house. The roof is going to collapse on them any minute, but they know what they're doing, and you just let them do it. Or it's like giving your toddler a gun, or it's like, giving people the ability to hurt themselves so badly, and yet you say, oh, it's your fault. Like, what kind of loving entity does that? What kind of unjust monster does a thing like that? It's just sick. Like, the idea of hell, of a God torturing people simply for rejecting Him. Right off the bat, we can say this God is an unjust, evil monster. If this God exists, we're in a lot of trouble. But does He exist? Let's look at the evidence. The more you study Islam, the more you will lose your fear of hell. That's what I think. I personally don't have any fear of hell. I just can't. I just don't believe it. I think maybe sometimes I think about it, but I'm like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, the whole idea of like creating people and torturing them and throwing them in hell, it's just so ridiculous. Like, excuse me, it's so ridiculous. It's such a stupid thing to believe God would do this to people. So I truly don't believe in hell. I think anyone that looks at the evidence will see that the idea of hell is completely unjustified. It was Muhammad using this idea of hell in order to scare people into believing in him and to follow him. And you don't need to be scared of hell. The Day of Judgment has been 1400 years coming. The return of Christ has been, 2,000 years coming. No return of Christ. What the heck, right? No Day of Judgment. What the heck? It's not coming. There's no Day of Judgment. It's a complete lie. You have been lied. You have been tricked. There's no Day of Judgment coming. Muhammad lied. He made up the entire thing. It's just the sad reality of life is people all think the Day of Judgment is coming, and they're all scared shitless. But there's no Day of Judgment. It's just not true, right? So continue to research, continue to learn, and I think you'll feel better as time goes by. I'm sorry that you have to go through this, but it's a hey Haram Sheikh, how's it going? Okay. I'm a recent Muslim convert. Well, welcome to Islam, I guess. I'm a recent ex-Muslim deconvert, if that makes any sense. Okay. So, going through the comments just to see what people said. Yeah, the idea of Jahannam came from a Jewish valley called Gehenna, and it became Jahannam in Islam. So, yeah, take that as you will. Okay, and Mubin had a question. He said, talk about the Quran's obsession with gardens and valleys. Yeah, when we look at the Quran, we see a reflection of a desert man's paradise. What would a desert man think of, right? Virgin women with full breasts, grapes, rivers of honey and milk, valleys, green valleys and gardens of like, lush gardens and couches of gold and fine carpets and, couches and cups of like gold and silver and wine that doesn't intoxicate, which makes no sense why you would want it. Okay, so yeah, I think that's what it is. It's just a reflection of Muhammad's desires. I don't know why I don't know what the obsession was with virgins back then, but apparently they loved virgins. The men, I mean, loved virgins. I don't know what that's about because I don't think it's not in our culture, anyways. In Western culture, it's not like kids, right? It's not an issue. Okay, so when people talk about the age of Aisha, they never look at the death of the same sister. Yeah, I do believe that Aisha was official story is that she was 9 when her marriage was when Prophet had sex with her. And I think there's a lot of problems with this. I made a video called Muhammad is Muhammad a pedophile, which I basically say no, he's not a pedophile. Pedophile, how do you say it? Pedophile? Anyways. But the thing is, I've kind of, in a way I've reconsidered some of my points. One of the points I reconsidered is that, first of all, there's no such thing as consent with a 6-year-old. Like, when you're marrying a 6-year-old, there's no way you can say there's consent there, right? It's just not possible. So you can't have consent. So first of all, that marriage is whack. Second of all, having sex with a 9-year-old girl, there's no consent with a kid. A kid cannot consent to that because she doesn't understand what the hell is going on, okay? Third of all, so we talked about, oh yeah. So sex is about, body parts and movements and physical organs that have to, go in a young girl of that age, it'd be difficult to argue that, she should be subjected to a 53-year-old man's penis. It just doesn't sound right. And because of pregnancies that happen during that age, one issue that comes up is fistulas. Fistulas are something that happens in that's called the third world, where people can't they can't afford and they can't do the C-section, right? So what happens is when the baby comes out, it gets stuck and it rips, right? So unfortunately, this actually hurts a lot of young girls all over the world because they get married at a very young age. Like this girl right here, she was married at the age of 9, and then she was pregnant at 12. So what happened was the baby couldn't come out, right? And then the baby dies, the baby gets stuck, and it rips a hole inside her that she can't hold in her feces or urine anymore, and all comes out. And these people, they become like ostracized, and they're pushed away in the corner, and this and that. And it's very sad, and this is one of the downsides of allowing child marriage, other than the fact that these girls, they don't have a future. They get married young, they get pregnant young, they become like basically virtual slaves in the house, right? So this is one of the sad things about Islam, and the Quran actually allows child marriage, right? It talks about the waiting period for someone that is that never menstruated yet. So basically it's about young girls, right? It allows marriage for young girls, and that's an example, right, where Muhammad actually did that. And yeah, so messed up. If people want to say that Muhammad didn't marry her at 9, or they want to say she was actually older, it's probably a good thing because people need to reform Islam, and this is kind of a way of reforming it. If people want to say that it happened back there but we don't have to allow it now, that's another good thing. And we don't we should support that. We need to support people that are saying that, you know, it's a good thing if they're saying that Aisha is not 9 because they're trying to say it's wrong that she's 9. So they're saying she's 18 because it bothers them. So it's good that it bothers them, and it's good that they're trying to say Islam doesn't allow this. So it doesn't happen anymore. Of course, these, you know, Western Muslims that have a problem with child marriage, nobody cares what they think in the rest of the world. So the problem is, even if these Western Muslims say, oh, Aisha was 18, nobody gives a shit what you Western Muslims think anyways, right? Like, it's the people back in Yemen and Saudi and Somalia and whatever, right, that are doing these things. They don't care what Western Muslims think. If Aisha was 18, they know she was 9. It was in the hadith, right? So, and that's the problem, right? So, oh man, it's sad. I just feel so sad, like, thinking about how many people suffered, how many girls suffered because of this. It's just so messed up. Like, it just breaks my heart. Okay, I don't know Rebel Media, sorry. When I was a Muslim, I never dreamt of 72 virgins. I just wanted to be my family. Yeah, I don't know who who the target audience was for 72 virgins. Maybe it was like jihadis, or I don't know. Like, who was the, I don't know, who was the target market for that? I'm sure there was somebody. I guess you weren't that target market, right? Show me in the Quran where you can, where you can consummate marriage with a girl that hasn't reached puberty. Yeah, it's chapter 65, verse 4. Hold on, I will post the link. I have the link. I am ready for this question. Okay. Da-da-da. Here we go. There we go. Please read chapter 65, verse 4. And you will see this is what it says. Okay, so try to think about what that might mean. Okay, what's my views on veganism? What's my views on veganism? I think it's good to eat less meat. I actually think it's really good. I honestly think it's good to eat less meat. There's so many reasons to eat less meat. I don't know about veganism. Am I disconnected? Am I still? It says I'm still broadcasting. Must be you that got disconnected. Smiling as hell. Oh shoot! Is it frozen? Hello, are you guys here? Okay, is it back up? You guys okay? Is the stream's good? Okay, thanks, Alexis, and okay, glitched. Okay, back to the question about veganism. I honestly think it's good to eat less meat. Meat is bad for the environment, first of all. Okay, I don't know if it's bad for your health or not, but I've seen some studies that seem to imply that it's bad for your health it's bad for your health to eat too much meat. But let's just say, uh-oh, my stream is in bad shape. Hold on, let me just close some stuff, see if I can make it faster. Okay, sorry about the stream. It's okay, now it's clean again. Okay, the verse is 65 verse 4. Okay, 65:4 is about child marriage. Okay, so read that verse. Yeah, about not eating any meat at all, I don't know. I think it's difficult to do that, and I don't think I could ever do it. But I would say eat less meat. It's a good thing to do. You know, less animal suffering, less impact on the environment. You know, more food left over for everybody in the world. Because when you eat meat, it takes a bigger chunk of food that's available to others in terms of like, you know, like wheat and other things like that. More of that is consumed. A lot of water is consumed. A lot of resources are consumed. A lot of waste is created. A lot of cow farting and methane gas is pollution and stuff like that. So eat less meat. I don't know if I would promote veganism or veganism. I don't know. I don't know if I can take that position. I'm not sure. I haven't thought about it. But for sure, just eat less meat. That's my suggestion. Okay? Alright. Okay, so we're back. Good. What do I think of Oh man, that's sad. What do I think of YouTube sanitization of controversial topics like religion, live streams, demonetization, shadow banning? Yeah, I've heard from fellow atheist YouTubers that YouTube is actually, crushing or clamping down on atheist bloggers. Anything that's considered controversial, the videos are being demonetized. So I don't monetize my videos. All my videos are ad free. I don't know if they're ad free, but they're not monetized by me anyways. If YouTube puts ads, they put ads, but they're not. I don't get any money from that, and so it doesn't affect me. But apparently, they're less likely to show your video now, if you're like on an atheist topic or something like that, and they're less likely to promote it and encourage it. So yeah, basically that's the thing. Hold on, my stream is going slow again. Let me see what's going on, if I can fix this. Give me 1 second. Apologies. There we go. Hopefully it's going to be a little bit faster now. I just closed a bunch of stuff. Okay. Okay. Are you guys with me? I am... Okay. There we go. So okay. Sorry about that. What's the definition of halal according to Quran? The definition of halal halal means permissible. So definition of halal is basically, whatever is slaughtered according to the way that was taught, that the name of Allah is mentioned on it, and I think the Sunnah mentions about removing the blood. So halal slaughter is to remove the blood, to remove the blood, and not kill it by blunt force, but you have to you have to cut it a certain way, and you can't eat roadkill. I mean, who eats roadkill? And you can't eat pigs. So that's basically what halal is, right? Okay, you mungus. Oh my god, are you still going on about menstruating and mailing? Okay, let me explain to you in a little bit more detail what I'm trying to say. The Quran in 65:4 talks about, let's just go to it, okay? Let's go to this argument, because first of all, there's no waiting period for divorce if you didn't consummate the marriage, okay? Do we agree? If you didn't consummate your marriage with your wife, there's no waiting period. You can say talak and walk away. There's no waiting period. If there's a waiting period, it means you slept with her, okay? And here's the proof right here. First of all. Second of all, 65:4 talks about a waiting period, hence is discussing the case that the marriage was consummated. What are the three cases that 65:4 mentions that have a waiting period? Those who no longer expect menstruation, okay? Old ladies. Those who have not yet menstruated, number 2. And those who are pregnant, okay? Those who have not yet menstruated. What does that mean? What does that mean? Who hasn't menstruated? Okay, let's see what the scholars of tafsir have recorded. Al-Jalalain said, those who have not yet menstruated because of the young age, the period will be 3 months. Asbab ul-Nuzul says this refers to young women. O Messenger of Allah, Ibn Qais al-Ansari said, O Messenger of Allah, what is the waiting period of the woman who does not menstruate and the woman is not menstruated yet? Ubay bin Ka'b said, O Messenger of Allah, some women of Medina are saying there are other women who have not been mentioned. He asked him, who are they? He said, those who are too young and those who are too old. So this verse was revealed. Typical Muhammad's way of people asked him questions and then he answered them and it became Quran. Ibn Kathir says the same thing. Tabari says the same thing. Qurtubi says the same thing. Bagwai, who I have no idea what that is, says the same thing. Okay, seriously, If this isn't enough to convince you, then check out this video. Okay? Check out this video.
Hello and welcome.
The Masked Arab. I hope you guys know the Masked Arab. And check it out. And you will see that it's true what I'm saying. It's true, right? Like, in the end of the video, he actually has some people discussing. Can you guys, I don't know if the sound is coming
please
through.
provide a واضح of sexual
Okay, so
على أوراق زوجها، لكن هي أنا أتحدث نفسيا يعني رضيعة، يعني إذا مين ما تبناها سواء زوجها أو
انظر التشريع الإسلامي.
نعم أنا يستطيع أن يتزوج من رضيعة. هذا ما قلته دكتور أحمد.
نعم صح، يعني أنا بتكلم عن هذا وبقول يعني نحن مركزين على النقطة دي، هذه نقطة جزئية بسيطة جدا. نعم. يعني
ولكن أثار جدل كبير.
وراجل قال لك البنت عندها 9 سنين تعيش أحسن من اللي عندها 20. واحنا عاملين مختلفين في سن الزواج ورفع سن الزواج، نرفعه ولا ما نرفعوش؟ الوضع ده ايه؟
9 سنين تنفع؟ هو الراجل ده بيتكلم كلام. هو اولا ليس هناك في الشرع تحديد لسن الزواج. على طول كده ليس هناك في الشرع تحديد لسن الزواج،
ولكن اللي فهمته كده، اللي فهمته منك موافق.
نعم.
انت بتأيد الفتوى دي؟
مش بأيد الفتوى دي، ده مش بأيد الفتوى دي.
9 سنين ينفع؟
أن تحتمل الزوج، يعني تحتمل المعاشرة، تحتمل الزوج، تحتمل
البنت تحتمل الزواج من عندها كام سنة؟
نعم. أنا ما أعرفش بقى، ما هو في عندها هقول لسيادتك
الجدات
عندها 15 سنة ومقروضة قد كده وما تنفعش الحاجة وما تعرفش حاجة. في واحدة عندها 10 سنين وتلاقي بسم الله ما شاء الله قد الحيطة مثلا. هي العملية بتتوقف عليه،
يعني مش مرتبطة بسن.
لا
مش مرتبطة
الشرع. لا
يعني البنت عندها 9 سنين وقد الحيطة تنفع تتجوز؟
ما ينفعش.
طب اكيد اتصلوا بينا على 91 235. اصلا مش في مود مناقشتك النهارده ضد الشيء، كمان صعب قوي 9 سنين وتتجوز. ده
9 سنين وتتجوز. اذا قلت اذا يطيق الفحل، يعني اللي هي بيقول ايوه، ما هي في الشرع.
okay. I'm gonna pause that right now. I think you get the point. I hope that was clear enough. If my heart is sealed, I'm having a stroke. Okay. Yes. Okay. So I hope that was clear and everybody understood that that's the way it is. Okay. Allah's servant. Oh Allah, bear witness, I told them of you. We all know about Allah. We've heard of Allah. We've heard of, Muhammad. But we're not convinced because the evidence is not good. Allah's servant. There's no... Oh, I challenge you to make one chapter like the Quran. You know what? I'm so happy you asked me that because I think that's a fantastic question. If the Quran's from God, then nobody should be able to make a verse like it, right? So surely this wouldn't be a verse like it right there, would it? Because I have a verse right here in Arabic and in English. Fuck off. Really, we have created the chicken, a wonderful creation, and we boiled the eggs a boiling, and we sent with thunder lightning, and we made the air fresh. And for he who denies the signs, we shall hang him a hanging, choke him a choking. And for he who knocks on the door of a harlot, a knocking. Then commits in a house philandering, we shall burn him in the fire a burning. Indeed, our punishment, it is the abiding. Indeed, our enemy, he is the most wretched. For I swear by the glitter of the dinar, and I swear by the braying of the ass. Indeed, I am Allah, the Creator, the Conqueror. So obey me and do not be of unbelievers, and fear a day when no dirham will benefit nor a dollar. The unbelievers will be cast in the fire, and they'll not be able to escape it or bear it. Those who fear the Lord, they will be the best. They'll have gardens under which run rivers, and crates of whiskey, and dancing girls with no veil. There you go. I have answered the question. I hope that was a good answer. It's written by Hassan Radwan, someone that I have a lot to thank for someone that helped me to leave Islam and to see the issues in Islam. This is his website, excuse me, Agnostic Muslim Khutbahs. So I enjoy reading his blog and following him on Facebook. So check out his stuff. And he's the author of that. He's the author of that post I just shared, the verse of the Quran in Arabic. So I hope that answers the question. Okay. Okay, next question. How do you know it has a perfect literary composition? Humongous. What is the criteria? What is the criteria for a perfect composition? How do we understand this? Right? Like how do we get, like, is this something even measurable? Can we even measure, like, can we honestly judge what would be considered like it? You know what I'm saying? Is there any objective criteria? Because there is no objective criteria. It's a fake question. It's just like, tell me something that's like Shakespeare. Like, okay, like, what does that even mean? How do you judge that? Who judges that? Right? Like, who decides what's like and what's not like? You know what I'm saying? So there's not really any way to answer this question or to answer this challenge, because it's a meaningless subjective challenge. Language is by its very nature did I go offline again? Why is my thing going offline? My computer is glitching out now. Apologies for that. There's no good answer to this question, right? There's actually no good answer. So, you know, honestly, you can't answer. Like, whatever you bring Muslims and you say this is a surah like it, they won't like it. So it's just like, you know, sorry, it's totally subjective, right? Okay, so I'm not Arabic speaking yet. I'm actually not Arabic speaking, but honestly, it's just a subjective challenge that you can't really win, right? Okay. BJ Price said, Abraham wasn't even written about until 1800 years after he supposedly existed. Hard to fathom. That's totally true. It's highly unlikely that most of these stories or any of these stories are even true. Like, it's very, very unlikely, right? It's just be careful just accepting what people tell you, right? And there's no such thing as a perfect literary composition. The Quran has many things in it which are flawed, which are ugly, you know, which would actually make you, like, I'll give you an example, right? There's a nice video on this by Hassan Radwan, but like, we have many different scholars from history that have actually said that, you know, Quran's eloquence is not a miracle. People can do the like of it and better. Like the Mutazilites call it Abu Musa, the 11th century Sunni scholar Abu al-Kushairi, Ibn al-Rawandi, right? Some of the non-Muslims as well. And this video, I would say, actually goes through it, and it's very, very good. So I highly recommend that, you know, just check out this video. It answers the issue of the miracle of the Quran, but there's not really a good answer. And okay, next one. Can I explain Surah 80, Surah Abasa? So Surah Abasa is, I'm not sure what's the intent of this question of Surah Abasa. It's basically the Prophet. It's an example in the Quran of Allah criticizing the Prophet for a very minor thing. So, you know, people sometimes say, well, if he was really telling the truth, why would there be verses in there criticizing him? Like, you call this a criticism? Like, you seriously call this a criticism? Like, this is criticizing? This is considered a criticism to him? Give me a break. This is not a criticism. Like, this is nothing, right? Like, if this is what people are saying, they're saying, oh, but look, the Quran criticizes him. This is nothing. They're not even saying anything to him. The Quran praises him over and over and over again. This is barely this is barely a point, you know, a point of issue, like what the Quran says about, you know, oh, he looked away and he should have smiled at him or something, and instead of giving him attention, he gave attention to the people of Quraysh. So this is like hardly even something that people criticize the Prophet for, because he was giving attention to people that were more important to convert than someone that was less important to convert. So if that's an excuse for Islam, like, come on, give me a break. Okay. That's Surah 80. Alright. Yeah, BG Price, a lot of things were written 300 years later. Totally agree, right? There's most of Islamic history, we don't know if it's true. I mean, I highly doubt it. Do I think Muhammad made Islam up, or do you think he believed he was a prophet? So I actually have a post on that on my blog, and I think that, I think he was a mix of, I think he was a liar actually, but because he benefited, he had great personal benefits he got out of it. I do think he had the temporal lobe epilepsy. So I have my analysis of these claims here on abdullahsamir.com/blog/Prophet Muhammad, and I give the different positions that it could have been. And I recommend just check this post and see, what I think about what he believed. But he actually had great benefits. He got lots and lots of benefits, right? So I really don't think it makes sense to just say he had temporal lobe epilepsy and that's it. Maybe he had a narcissistic personality disorder and actually was able to feel like God was talking to him, because he is so full of himself that, so that's basically it. Yeah. Okay. I do believe that Islam is based more on Judaism than Christianity. Most of the Islamic stories, the biggest story in the Quran is Surah Baqarah, which is all about Moses. And I do believe that the Jews lived around Muhammad, and because they lived around him, he actually was able to get a lot of the stories. Whereas the Christians, there wasn't any such thing like that around him where he could actually learn about Christianity as well. So the ideas about Christianity in the Quran are quite flawed as well. And I have a video on that topic as well, about Jesus. And let me just see if I can find it. Yeah, I do have it right here. Okay, so I talk about this here, how it looks like Prophet Muhammad didn't understand about the gospel, that it wasn't a book sent to Jesus. So maybe there was a book sent to Jesus which was completely lost. I mean, coincidence. Or maybe Prophet Muhammad was mistaken and he thought that there was a book called the Gospel, but actually it was the 4 Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, which were not revealed books, but were inspired by the Holy Spirit to the Gospel writers, 70 years after the death of Jesus, right? So I obviously don't believe that Jesus was the Son of God or spoke to God or anything like that. Whether or not he actually existed, that's another question that atheists love to debate. I don't know. I'm not sure. I think he did exist. Yeah, so basically, he was building off the stories of Jews, right? Okay. So, what else? Yeah, I think he must have been a very charismatic person, because how did he end up convincing so many people, right? And so, yeah, he clearly had some personality characteristics that made him into the leader that he became, right? So, yeah, there were many sects of Christianity at the time. Nestorians were the most common in the Middle East, Callow said. Excuse me, and I think that's true. That's probably, Khadija and her uncle, Warqa bin Nawfal, was probably where he got his ideas about Christianity from. I think that's where he got them from, but who knows, right? Okay. Yeah, about NASA and the moon cracking and all that, splitting. So first of all, when I first heard about this story about the moon being split, when I just converted to Islam, or Sunni Islam, and I just became Sunni, I was like, whoa, that's so cool. The Prophet split the moon, so the other cultures must have seen it. Can you tell me what other cultures saw it? And my friend was like, I don't think anyone else saw it. I was like, what? Doesn't make sense. But I didn't think about it. I didn't follow up on this issue. I just let it go. But it is an issue, because if he split the moon, people should have been able to see it. Not to mention how it would affect the tidal waves and how it would affect the gravity, how it would affect the earth, right? But anyways, forget the science behind it, which makes no sense. Even if it was just a visual crack, nobody saw it except supposedly the Arabs, right? And why? And so Muslims will say, well, People were sleeping. It was nighttime. Oh, sorry, it was daytime. It was cloudy. Nobody saw it, right? So it's like, what kind of claim is this? It's a garbage claim, right? There's nothing to believe, right? And some people say it's not even the Quran doesn't even say it. It says the moon has been split and the day of judgment is near. So maybe it means something else. I don't know. But that claim is just debunked, right? Okay. If Muhammad was fake, why too many people in the world love him and some people are willing to die for him? It all has to do with history. One is Muhammad taught people that they have to love him, right? He taught them that, I am the messenger of God, and he convinced them that he's the true man that spoke to God, and he told them they have to love him, and the Quran says you have to love him. So that's the first thing. The second thing is anyone that criticized him was killed, right? And this is actually worth looking at, right? I want to show you guys this. This is worth checking, this list. It's on Wiki Islam, and it talks about everyone that was killed by Muhammad, right? So just go through this list and you'll see that anybody that criticized him was assassinated or killed or whatever. It's a pretty big list. Some of them, they were forgiven and stuff. It's also mentioned, and all of these are referenced. They have references, all of these, right? Back to the Sirah or the Hadith. I'll post this in the links. So this is what happens when someone criticizes Muhammad. So he was able to get away with saying whatever he wanted, doing whatever he wanted, killing anyone that went against him. The religion actually uses jihad, and it's a type of brainwashing. When you teach children at a very young age and you create a cult, this is like a personality cult, it's called a personality cult around an individual. This is what happens. He's almost worshipped, right? Like, they sing songs, Tala al-Badru alayna, and like all these songs about him, Salawatullah alayna, like all of these songs they make about him. It's become a personality cult, right? So he's the center of that personality cult, right? So okay, and yeah, they've been brainwashed since birth. What else? I don't know anything about Tommy Robinson's new book. I heard of it. I'm not sure about that. Okay. So going to the questions again, comments. Science of today says the Earth will halt and move to the next direction like a spring, and the sun comes from the west. If that's true, first of all, we're talking what, like 3 million years, 300 million years later or something? You really think human beings are going to be around the time when the Earth changes direction, the orbit of the Earth? Like, are you kidding me? Like, using science to try to prove this, like the religion that has such superstitions like magic and jinns and evil eye and Gog and Magog, and to say this has anything to do with science, the same religion that the Holy Book says the heavens and earth were joined in chapter 21 verse 30. Now you're telling me that the Earth is going to rotate the opposite direction? I mean, that's hilarious. Like, that's a silly excuse, right? Okay. So, why is it wrong to say Surah Baqarah is about Musa? I don't get it. Like, why is that Ahlul Kitab and story of Musa? It's about Moses. Why is that an issue? The story, Surah Baqarah is all about Moses. What are you talking about? It's about the cow that he went up to the mountain and he talked to Allah and he came back down and they made a cow out of gold. What's wrong about that? Like, what are you talking about, humongous? Okay. Yeah, basically, most of the things, if we ordinary people can see Islam is fake, why many well-educated people and very intelligent people in the world can't see it's fake? Mr. GC, this is something I wondered as well. Why is it that, someone like me, I'm not a genius, like, how is it I can see through this and so many people that are much smarter than me cannot? And I think there's two things. One is mental courage, people that are willing to, look and change the position based on the evidence that comes to them. Many people are not able to change the position. Either the brainwashing was too strong from a child. Like the fact that I converted from Ismaili to Sunni in the first place shows that I'm open-minded and willing to change my position when the evidence is available to me, which is what eventually saved me even from Sunni Islam, right? It saved me because I was able to look at the evidence and say, well, I don't believe in this anymore because it doesn't make sense. The evidence is not correct, right? And Malcolm X is a good example of this. Someone that, wherever the evidence came to him that he was wrong, he would change his position and take the new position. Some people just don't have that personality, right? And I think if you study the psychology of religion, the psychology of humans in general, you'll see that we don't like to reconsider our positions. We don't like to change our minds. We're happy to be stuck on one position and we don't want to change, right? So that's, I think, part of it. It's a personality thing. It's an honesty thing. It's basically personality and courage. Do you have the courage to leave the religion of your forefathers and to risk hell? It seems like a risk to some people because the evidence seems to be against it. And Mr. GC, I don't think people actually care about evidence. That's the thing. Majority of people I talk to, when I discuss with them, I'm like, are you willing to leave Islam if the evidence is shown to be false? They're like, no. I'm not interested. I just want to convert you back. That's why I'm talking to you. So it's like people are basically presuppositionalists. They're not interested in, switching or changing the positions. It's just, they don't have the courage for that, right? So that's basically what it is, right? Okay. Alright, so yeah, like this is basically near the end. I'm gonna end this soon. I'll do a couple more questions. Oh, part 7, good thing with live feeds. I'm glad you're enjoying the live feeds. I'm trying to make it as interactive as possible to help to like make it more interesting rather than just chit-chatting. Okay. Any more questions? Islam is the only pure religion. Like, what's pure about Islam? The fact that you can't marry your foster sister, the fact that men can't wear gold, the fact that you go around an ancient house of idol worship, the fact that what's so pure about it? What's so pure about this religion? The fact that you can marry, men can marry 4 wives, but women can only marry 1 man. The fact that according to most people, my marriage with my wife is invalid now because she's Muslim and I'm not Muslim. Like, you telling me this is a pure religion? The fact that, I can go on and on. Like, what's pure about this religion? Just because you believe in one God? It's just made up, right? It's just Muhammad's false religion that he made up, right? I have one question before bed. Hold on. Oh shoot, I lost it. Where did it go? I worked up the idea of concocting Islam was Khadija. It was her idea. I don't know. Maybe it's possible. Maybe it's possible. Haven't read Tommy Robinson's new book. Oh yes, smiling isn't haram. These smart people, sometimes you're right. That's another good point. The personal situation may not be possible for them to leave Islam because they may lose too much. So, based on the fact, like Yasir Qadhi, for example, he could never leave Islam because his whole life is based on Islam, right? So people sometimes they may not be willing to take that loss, right? Because Islam puts very heavy costs on leaving Islam. You lose your wife, you lose your kids, you lose your family, so many things you lose, right? You can be killed. So yeah, that's basically it. Alpha Sierra Hotel, do I know Wu Hong Xuan Khan is? I don't know how to pronounce that name. No, I don't know who that is. I have to look that up. What do I think of Shia Islam? Ali al-Miskin. So, I used to be Salafi, so my understanding was Shia Islam was not valid because the Quran doesn't talk about the core tenets of Shiism, about Ali, about the 12 Imams. Something that important should be in the Quran, right? And it's not. So to me, Shiism is not, it doesn't reflect the words of the Quran properly. So it's not It's not the proper, let's say, proper understanding of Islam. I don't know. That's how I see it, as an ex-Sunni, right? Ex-Sunni, ex-Salafi. But maybe there's something more to it that I don't know. You've seen a dream about Jesus. So our minds are interesting. Like, dreams are our brain trying to make sense of the world, trying to put our thoughts together, things that our subconscious wants to tell us that we don't know. Like, I'll tell you a story about dreams. When I was young, I didn't want to wear glasses. I thought they were like ugly or something, right? And so I didn't wear glasses, and I used to go outside and I used to go around without glasses, and I couldn't see properly. Sometimes I would cross the street, I couldn't see what that was. And in my dreams, I kept having dreams that I couldn't see properly, that I was like blind or I was not seeing properly. And then I realized, hey, my subconscious is trying to tell me I need to get glasses. So I started wearing glasses and the dreams went away. So my subconscious, which is me at a deeper level in my mind, was trying to tell me something, right? I don't think that if you dream about Jesus, it means anything about Jesus, because I dream about like crazy weird things, and I don't think any of those things are true, right? I mean, dreams are not a reliable way of getting truth, because our brains just make up stuff, right? And we know that our brains do crazy things and make up stuff. So it's not a reliable method of finding the truth, right? So I wouldn't trust your dreams in that sense. I don't know Urdu. How long did it take Allah to create the world? 7 days, I guess. 7 yom, right? And 6 days, sorry, not 7, 6 days. And it's in the Quran. It's one of the things I actually read about. Hold on. This is one of the issues, right? How many days did it take? Right? There's different verses here, so, and they all have like kind of funny, different things they say. For example, it says, he made all that was for you on earth. Then he rose towards the heaven and he made them 7 heavens. This is like crazy wrong when you look at cosmology. He made everything on earth, then he rose towards the heavens. That's like insanely wrong. Then saying he created earth in 2 days, again, that's like crazy. It's just like insane to say that. The earth was made 4.7 billion years ago, but to say it took 2 days out of 7, like, does that even make sense? And then it says he created heavens and earth and all that is between them in 6 days. Sorry, I don't know why I keep saying 7 days, 6 days. So, like, it just shows you that when you just look at it in a straightforward way, you get the conclusion the earth was created first, which goes against everything we understand about the universe. The earth was not created before the universe. The fact that people can believe this in the 21st century is freaking insane. To say the earth was created before the rest of the universe. And then, this was another verse that I had issues with, about the raising up the heavens. The raising up the heavens is an ancient idea that many different cultures used to believe. And so, the Quran just repeating the same thing, it's just, what does it show? It shows that it's a product of a man, right? The Greeks who said there was only water, and then he separated the sky from the sea by dancing. The Maya of India and the Diogenes of California, heavens and earth had to be separated. The Romans, separation of heavens and earth by natural forests. In ancient Greece, in Africa, in Polynesia, in again Africa, in the islands, Melanesian, Solomon Islands, and so on, in Vietnam, in Mesoamerica. Like, this heavens and earth being split is an ancient motif that is repeated over and over again, but it makes no sense. And number of days earth was made and all that, none of that made any sense. Mufassal Islam does live feeds. Who said he doesn't do live feeds? He does live feeds on Facebook. You have to follow him on Facebook. And he does, yeah, whoever's giving personal information over chat, I'm going to block you. So don't do that. Just don't do that. And if you're ex-Muslim, just be careful, please. Be careful and don't. How long is a day in the Quran? LRG. Yeah, I think it mentions, right? A day in your sight is like 50,000 years or something like that. I don't have an issue with saying that the word yom or ayyam, days or day, is not a literal 24-hour period. But I do have a problem with the fact that, it's just weird. Like 2 days for the earth. Like, even if it was, the earth didn't take that long compared to the whole entire universe. Like the entire universe, it's been 13 billion years. We know that because we've measured the leftover radiation from the Big Bang, and from how far we can see in the sky, right? From the light, how far the light has traveled. We know these things. Like we know that the Earth didn't take 2 out of 6 days, and we know the sky wasn't raised up. We know none of this stuff was true. Like this is just ancient myths being repeated over and over again, right? So yeah, I don't pick on the fact that a day is 24 hours or not. That's not a big deal. I don't really bother with that, right? Yeah, Al Razi, I should get you on here, at least audio, if not video. We should come on audio at least. That would be fantastic. Okay, good night, pause 7. Why is the Great Flood being relegated to local flood, pale moon? So, about Noah's Ark, the reason why they say it's a local flood is because for a global flood, it just makes no sense. Like the story of Noah the Ark, it just makes no sense if you say global flood, because it destroys, the science destroys that. There's many atheist YouTubers that have made videos about Noah's Ark and how little sense it makes from the fact that the great amount of variation of species that we have couldn't have evolved in that short amount of time since the flood. The fact that we don't, like all of the kangaroos, that how would they even get on the boat? And I have a video on Noah's Ark where I talk about some of these things. How would the kangaroos get onto this boat? There was no land to connect them to Australia, right? And how come if they actually went all the way to the boat, like when they came back, how come we don't see any bones of them, right? Of theirs. So stuff like that, right? It's just basically, and am I going to change my name? No, I'm not going to change my name. Okay. Any more crossovers with Farhan Qureshi in the future? Yeah, sure, why not? I wouldn't mind if I have a chance, yeah, for sure. Okay. Alright. What kind of miracle is the local flood? That's actually a very good point, Ace. That's really, really good point. Like, what kind of miracle is that? I will flood this small locality where you live, and I will destroy all the disbelievers on earth in this small locality that you guys live. But I'll get all the disbelievers, but take all the animals just in case anyways, in case it becomes bigger. Like, yeah, that's actually a really good point. I didn't even think about that. Like, it just deflates the whole miracle, doesn't it? Like the whole like intercession thing, right? Oh, no problem. The flood story is inspired from the old Sumerian myths about Gilgamesh. Yes. Of course, Muslims will say, yeah, it's a true story that's gone. I've actually heard a sheikh say that once. The Gilgamesh story, the fact that every culture has an ancient flood myth means it's true. So they actually take it and like in stride and say, yeah, it's a true story. See, all the other cultures got it, but it's actually more like a broken telephone story, right? Do I think there's a limit to how much individuals can rationalize religion? There are people who are aware it is irrational and they continue believing, with some who simply can't. I think, again, I think, it comes down to how, like, are you willing to face the reality when it comes to you that religion is false? And many people cannot. And I never thought, and I don't think it'll ever come to the point where the majority of people will become atheist, because I don't think atheism appeals to the majority of people, because it's difficult to, I think it's really difficult to kind of not believe, right? So that's why I think, I honestly don't think the majority of people will ever become atheists. It just feels to me that it's difficult to come to this conclusion. It's just much easier to believe in God. And the majority of people, they just don't want to face the fact that we're all alone. It seems like we're all alone in the world, right? So because of that, I don't think that people will become atheists. And it's difficult to come to that conclusion that the universe always existed. And it's easy to come to the conclusion that God always existed, right? People just naturally believe in God like he's some big dad in the sky that'll take care of them, right? It seems the Quran means by following Muhammad that Muhammad wanted to follow him in real life, not follow the Hadith. Without the Hadith, there's very little in Islam left. There's not much. Like, the Quran can be interpreted, I don't know how many different ways without the Hadith. So without the Hadith, I honestly don't know what you'd believe. Like, I don't know what you'd pray, how you pray. Like, I know Quranists, like, it's a kind of reformed Islam, but it's very subjective, like, you know what I mean? So I don't usually get into that. How do Muslims reconcile abrogation, like abrogated verses? I think they think that Allah just does as He wills, so He just cancels some, and you know, it's part of His plan, I guess. I'm not sure exactly how they handle that. We don't need religion to be a good person. I absolutely agree. We don't need religion to be a good person. Do you realize there's women in this chat, so you're digitally flea mixing? Not good. Yeah, I don't know about the hadith, whether it was Muhammad's. Like, it seemed like Muhammad knew that people were memorizing his sayings, but I mean, they were done so many hundred years later, so who knows, right? Probably made up, right? Why Allah makes a few people poor and others have like 4 wives? Yeah, I mean, that's how life is, right? I mean, it's considered that it's a test and everybody has a different test. I mean, yeah, I don't know why. Clearly, it makes no sense why some of us are born in complete wealth and opulence and other people are like starving to death. Doesn't seem just as all. It's difficult to combat nihilism and atheism. That's why I'm interested in Qureshi's philosophy. Yeah, I agree with you that this is Jordan Peterson's worry as well about nihilism, and I think mindfulness and these things are spirituality. Farhan Qureshi has some good stuff going on, so yeah, check out his stuff. Okay. What they say is Allah sent these people as messengers over time, but they distorted these stories and Islam came to clear the confusion. That's why I like Karen Armstrong's book, because she talks about the real history and how, you know, it doesn't seem like the official story of Islam that, you know, the true message of God was corrupted, and that story that Muhammad came up with doesn't add up. Okay. Allah 7 is calling us fools. Maybe it wasn't even Muhammad's will to write the Quran. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, that he just died without any sort of order to compile the Quran in a book. And there's a scholar by the name of Shahab Ahmed. Some of my Sufi friends have recommended him, who talked about how the Quran was never meant to be preserved and you know, maintained in a book format the way it is today. So maybe it's true the Quran was never meant to be. I never read this guy's book, Shahab Ahmed, but yeah. Allah's servant, what are you doing in this chat? Like, what are you trying to tell us? Okay, yeah, the word rape does not exist in, I wouldn't say it does not exist in Arabic, it does not exist in the Quran. Or the hadith, there is some hadith about rape, but I couldn't find any saying from Muhammad directly condemning rape. I found one narration where he actually ordered someone killed for rape, but there doesn't seem like he ever himself said, get permission first. I don't see that. I don't think that idea existed back then of consent, right? Yet I use the hadith to refute Muhammad. The reason why is, you know, when someone believes in a certain position, it's good to show them based on their own text how that position is incoherent. If you just go to them and say, hey, Muhammad maybe from Petra, Jordan, hey, the hadith is all false, they'll be like, get lost, I don't want to talk to you, like, get out of here. Like, so it helps to, when you talk to people, that you talk to them on their own terms. They believe in hadith, they accept the hadith, so let's use the hadith as a basis for discussion, right? You guys believe it's true, and I will show you based on the hadith that this is an incoherent position, an incoherent worldview, that you will end up with cognitive dissonance if you continue to follow this, because you'll have two different conflicting things in your mind, right? That's why I use the hadith. The idea that everyone was a believer in God and they all became polytheists is originally a Christian idea. Some saint or other long before Islam wrote about this. Kalo said that. That's true. That's true. I don't believe that Jesus died for anyone's sins. The idea of God killing his son for all of humanity doesn't make any sense. The idea that Jesus rose from the dead after 3 days, it doesn't make any sense. The idea that God would put eternal damnation for everyone that doesn't accept Jesus doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense, none of this makes sense, that like some obscure Jewish man from from like 2,000 years ago, rabbi, a messianic preacher, is the Son of God, and God really wants us to accept this man as dying for our sins. It just seems so weird. It doesn't make sense. Like it's not logical. And the Bible suffers from all of the same flaws that the Quran suffers from in terms of science. In terms of, the beginning, it talks about the waters, and there was a water below and the water above. Let me open it right here. Right? There's two waters, water above and the water below, and it doesn't add up with what we know about the world. So unless you don't take these things literally, the story of Noah's Ark, again, like none of these stories make any sense. And you have to accept all of these stories if you want to believe that Jesus is the Son of God, right? Like all religions are fake, yeah, exactly. Okay. Alrighty. Hadith is a political manual, that's true. If Sharia law is based on Hadith, then it's not God's law. Well, Sharia law is based on Hadith, but Hadith is considered the sayings of Muhammad, and Quran says whatever he says is like revelation, right? He doesn't speak of his own desires, so that's considered like revelation. God is a universe. That's a position called pantheism. I wouldn't argue with that, but I don't think it's falsifiable. Deism and pantheism, either God is everything, or God is the creator that has left us alone without interacting with us. Excuse me. Both of those positions are unfalsifiable, and so you're welcome to believe in pantheism or deism, but you can't really prove or disprove it, right? Jesus didn't exist. Yeah, like I said, Richard Carrier holds this position, but Bart Ehrman holds the position that he did exist and he just was killed for preaching of the the new kingdom or whatever. So there's two different disagreements. There's two different positions there about Jesus, whether he existed or not. I'm not totally sure. I kind of lean towards the fact he did exist, but I haven't read Carrier's book yet. I bought his book on Audible, and Audible is a great website. I managed to actually listen to lots of books on there, so I really enjoy that. I hope you guys can check that out as well. If you don't have time to read books, then you can actually let me show you, for example. Okay. So, How Jesus Became God by Bart Ehrman. It's a fantastic book. And there's also Dr. Carrier's book, right, on the historicity of Jesus. Did Jesus really exist, right? So there's some interesting work being done by scholars who have studied this topic, and so I would recommend you to check out these two books on these different topics of Jesus. Okay. Most unbiased academic historians believe that Jesus did exist. Chicago Sean is saying that. Yeah, like I said, I'm not sure, but I think that theory makes sense, that he did exist. What's his book called? What's the book? You mean Dr. Carrier's book, or the book of Bart Ehrman? Bart Ehrman is another scholar of the Bible. He's an agnostic, and he doesn't believe that, he doesn't believe in it, but he used to believe in it. So he's a kind of cool guy. I like him as well. Can I talk about Bukhari? Is Bukhari the cause of radicalization all over the world? Well, there's a lot of things in Bukhari that may or may not cause radicalization. What causes radicalization is if you believe that you need to follow it, the same way that it's mentioned in Bukhari or Muslim, or it's not only Bukhari, it's Imam Bukhari, Imam Muslim's book, Abu Dawood, Tirmidhi, all of the books of hadith. Even the Quran itself, the Quran has many things in it which are like fight them and this and that, right? So it's not just the hadith. I think we give too much credit to the hadith for being a problem, but I think the Quran itself is a problem. What's my opinion on New Ages, spirituality, Deepak Chopra, The Secret, and those type of people? I don't know. Those books never appeal to me. I just find them to be like fake to me. I don't know. I never got that, right? Yeah, Al-Razi is saying if you spread Quranism, then you remove a lot of evil in Islam. Death penalty for adultery, homosexuality, apostasy, all come from hadith. That's true. That's true. I haven't watched Rick and Morty. I'm gonna end this discussion. It was a great discussion. Thanks guys and everyone for signing on. It's my mouth is totally dry now. 2 hours of talking. I need more guests. So if you have any suggestions on guests that could join, I would love to have more guests, because it's difficult to to just talk straight for like a long time like that. What will make you believe in Islam? Oh, no problem, guys. Thanks for joining. I'll believe in Islam if there's enough evidence to believe in Islam. You know, evidence that the Quran's a book, word of God, evidence Muhammad saw Allah, whatever. That's what would make me believe. Like, enough evidence. Like, there is actually no good reason to believe, right? So, peace be upon you. Thank you. Say bye. Someone wants me to say bye. Sarosh Kumar. Okay, bye. Yeah, thanks, Smiling's Not Haram and Allergy and everybody. Alpha Sierra. Your Pal Talk friends are coming. It's too late, man. It's been 2 hours. Like, I need water. I drank this whole, like, orange juice. It's, like, almost gone. I need a break from talking now. But it was fun. Thanks, everyone. Take care. Have a good night. Bye-bye.